So, yesterday, which is today, but yesterday morning, which is today when I'm recording this, and you're watching it on Friday, but yesterday morning, before I went to work, as I was eating some breakfast, I sat down in my room, I was eating my cereal, which was Fruit Root, one of the monster cereals, and, I was just, eating my breakfast and everything, drinking my coffee, just kind of getting myself together before I had to head out for work. And by doing so, I also was watching YouTube on my television, on my 4K television. So I'm watching YouTube, and one of the channels I'm subscribed to is World Culture Wrestling. I think it's World Culture. And they had a video up there where they were talking about the fact that Dave Meltzer, of all people, had gone off on Tony Khan himself. That Dave Meltzer had slammed AEW, and it's all because apparently the rant, that Ariel Helwani went on this past week after his interview with Tony Khan on his own YouTube channel didn't go the way he or anybody else was hoping. Basically, apparently that awoke some kind of, I guess, beast, if you want to put it that way, some kind of beast, some kind of side of Meltzer that had been asleep for quite some time, ever since AEW, one could say, was conceived. Because, Dave Meltzer, whether he wants to admit it or not, has had nothing but praise for All Elite Wrestling since its beginnings, humble beginnings, because of close friends he has there, like the Bucks, Omega, and so on, and even Tony Khan, to an extent. But basically, Ariel Helwani coming out and blasting Tony Khan for basically, not being, someone that's a willing participant in the interview, at least not giving him an answer that was satisfactory, like yes, no, or basically saying, hey, because of legal reasons right now, I can't really say anything. I can't really talk about that right now due to legal matters, or because there's an investigation, I can't say anything. Because he wouldn't give him at least those kind of answers, Ariel went off on him, on the MMA Hour, on his MMA Hour podcast, on the, I think, his YouTube channel or the MMA Hour YouTube channel or whatever. Or the BT YouTube channel, BT Sports YouTube channel. But like I said, he went off on him. And apparently this awoke, like I said, something inside Dave Meltzer that had not been awoken for a long time. And Meltzer decided this past week himself on social media, as well as on the Wrestling Observer radio show podcast with Brian Alvarez or Andrew Zarian, whichever one, maybe both, he decided to go off himself. And he did. He did go off himself on Tony Khan. In a way, he kind of agreed with what everybody, with what everybody, including Ariel Helwani, had been saying. That at least, what he should have done, that being Tony Khan, is give us some kind of answer. And Dave Meltzer made the comparison to, other outlets out there, other leagues and promotions like Major League Baseball and, in the NFL and the NBA and MLS and whatnot, and even, combat sports promotions like UFC, Bellator, WWE, New Japan, Impact. He made the comparison by stating that at least they would let you know what was up. At least they would tell you why, X, Y, and Z can't be participating in ABC. If you catch my drift. That's basically what they would be, that's basically the comparison he was making, saying that the reason, wrestlers, X or fighters X, Y, and Z can't be participating right now in events A, B, and C, is because of, legal matters that we can't get into, or because they're either sick, or they have a family emergency, or whatever, or they need to take time off due to personal reasons to get the personal reasons, and that's all we're going to say, and because of that, we're going to respect the privacy. Meltzer is basically saying that at least, all those entities would give you some kind of explanation, some kind of answer, to what's going on. That, at least they wouldn't hide it or ignore it like Tony Khan is doing with AEW, because that's exactly what's happening. And when you have someone that basically has supported your promotion since the beginning going off on you, and some would say it's thanks to hearing what Ariel Helwani had to say, that basically awoken that side of you that you haven't had awoken for a while, to where now you're even taking shots and putting criticism at the company you've supported the most because you have close friends there. That's not a good sign. That's not a good sign for you or anybody, involved. It isn't. It really isn't a good sign. So, so to hear that Meltzer, of all people, and honestly, I've heard what Meltzer had to say, because I heard a little bit of, his response, he and Brian Alvarez's response to Ariel Helwani's rant on the fact that his interview with Tony Khan didn't go the way he had planned. And you can kind of tell that Dave, even then, and I don't know if this was the same broadcast, if you will, that, what culture was talking about. But you could tell even in that one that he was kind of in agreement. Dave understood, okay, Tony can't say certain things, but at least, give him something. At least give him something. And there are others that kind of look at it from both sides. I mean, Jason Solomon, on Solomonster Sounds Off, dedicated about 20 plus minutes of his podcast, which he clipped into an individual video on his YouTube page. And he kind of looked at it from both spectrums. He looked at the fact that both parties did not come off looking good, which is, very true. They didn't. But Solomonster even agreed to an extent to what Dave Meltzer said, and I think this is before Dave said what he did, that, Tony should have at least given them something. Just said, no, I can't talk about that, or, no, I can't say at this moment because of such and such reasons. But Tony didn't do that at all. And again, what this does for Tony is it paints him in a negative light. Okay, the positive right now is that AEW seems to, visually on television and booking wise, seems to be getting back on track. It seems to be that. That's what they're doing. They're getting back on track, with the storytelling, the booking of certain talents and everything. They seem to be getting back on track. Yes, are there some decisions that they shouldn't have made and all that? Absolutely. But, it's all about learning. I mean, everybody looks at the Daniel Garcia thing and they're like, why would you end it so soon when it had potential? We don't know. It might be because of the fact that they don't know where to go from here with it, or the fact that, well, they want to probably still tell the story, but tell it in a way that shows how naive Daniel Garcia is to go back with Jericho. We don't know. We don't know. We don't really know. But the point is, the silver lining that people will look at outside of that is everything seems to, be getting back on track visually and booking wise, but behind the scenes, it's an entirely different story. It really is. Now, what's ironic about this is the moment this information came out, today, this video came out, after a few days after Meltzer said what he did. What's ironic about it is reports have come out that some movement has been made. That some movement has been made, and that Ace Steel, a guy I met one time at a Central States Wrestling event, as a matter of fact, he took my chair from me, and I think he attacked, who was it, Michael Strider or Mark Sterling? Not Smart Mark Sterling, but another Mark Sterling, apparently. So I don't know who it was he attacked, but he took my chair. He basically said, hey, can I borrow this for a second? Take my chair, bam, hit the other guy. But anyway, Ace Steel apparently has been fired from AEW because of what he did in his involvement. So he's been let go. And apparently reports are there seems to be a little bit of communication going on right now between the two, or between the both sides, if you will, or all parties involved. There seems to be some kind of communication going on, but that's just that's just part of the report. I guess FIFA and PW Insider got that not only has Ace Steel been fired, removed from AEW, not only has Ace, sorry about that, but not only has Ace Steel been removed from, AEW permanently, but there seems to be some kind of communication now going on. Not much apparently, but at least there's something happening between all parties. Whether or not that means the Bucks and Omega are coming back soon, whether or not that means Punk is going to make an on-screen appearance, and they're all going to reconcile, we don't know. We don't know. But at least, ironically, after this video came out and after Meltzer said what he did, basically going off on AEW, all of a sudden this happens. And you have to wonder if maybe this is, maybe if this is in response to Meltzer, basically criticizing All Elite Wrestling, criticizing Tony Khan, for not, at least giving us some kind of update, and acting like this is totally non-existent. You have to wonder if this is a result of Tony Khan being like, oh no, Dave Meltzer saying stuff bad about us. Contact Ace Steel. Guys, contact Ace Steel. Tell him he's fired and say we're communicating with people. We're communicating with the parties. You have to wonder if that's what happened, that Tony Khan heard that basically, Dave Meltzer had had said what he did, basically, shot on them, if you will, and shot on them, criticized them, and I guess maybe my speculation here, maybe in a panic mode, like, I don't want to lose this closest ally we have, decided to contact Ace Steel, or have somebody contact Ace Steel and say, Ace, you're fired, and then maybe say something along the lines of, hey, communication is opening up between all parties, which may or may not be true. We don't know. But I find it kind of ironic, I kind of find it coincidental and ironic of the timing of Ace Steel being released, and then because of what we heard from because of what Dave Meltzer let loose, in kind of a rant, kind of criticism towards All Elite Wrestling, and Tony Khan not wanting to lose one of his closest allies and friends and have him against them, you have to wonder if TK probably made all this suddenly happen so that at least it gets, people like not just Ariel Helwani and others, but mostly Dave Meltzer off his back, and hopefully change their mind and be like, okay, maybe we're wrong, maybe something is happening, and that's it. You have to wonder. Again, it's mere speculation on my part, but I find the timing kind of ironic and coincidental that, that happened, at the same time Dave Meltzer said what he did. But yeah, when you have somebody that you can consider your closest ally, your closest outlet, if you will, to your closest outlet, your closest ally, if you will, to the outside world beyond AEW to help get the good word out about you guys. Basically, when you start having that person criticize you, that's not a good sign. when you have them start to kind of turn their back on you, that's not a good sign. And you need to basically figure out a way to find a way to subdue that. And obviously maybe Tony Khan, his decision to fire Ace Steel and then say communication is opening up between all parties, maybe that's a way of trying to subdue that, quarrel that before it gets out of hand. But we're not sure. We're not entirely sure. We just have to wait and see what the next step will be. I mean, if we don't hear anything else after this, then that means basically that him firing Ace Steel was just a PR stunt to make them look good, and also to save face with the likes of a Dave Meltzer, and that basically him saying that his communication is, I guess, opening up again between all parties is also a PR move to make themselves look good in front of a lot of people, mostly Meltzer, because they don't want to lose, that ally. They don't want to lose, that confidant, if you will, that they have, who is now even questioning, what is going on behind the scenes. Like, hey, everything looks good on the visual side, the booking side, the in-ring side, when it comes to the company, but when it comes to the behind the scenes, that's another story. That is another story. So, yeah, Meltzer getting on Tony Khan now in AEW because they're not saying at least something, about what's going on. Yeah, that is kind of newsworthy to talk about because he is looked at as a very close ally and a confidant for the company. And again, I find it kind of coincidental and ironic, the timing of Ace Steel being released, being fired, and the sudden discussion of basically the communication window being opened again between all parties. Yeah, I find it kind of coincidental that this is all happening around the time Meltzer has decided to kind of finally let that beast, that unbiased beast that he kept asleep for a while, unleashed onto AEW and Tony Khan, because they're not giving us any answers as to what's happening. But what do you guys think? What are your thoughts on Dave Meltzer, of all people, now kind of following in suit with Ariel Helwani? And do you think it's kind of coincidental that we suddenly have some kind of activity going on, when it comes to this investigation, like the firing of Ace Steel, the announcement that the communication door is opening once again? What are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts overall? Let me know down below in the comment section below. Live chat during the premiere. Like the video. Super chat, super stickers are open during the live chat. Super thanks afterwards. You can also check me out at my patreon.com/BWRoses with a $1, $3 tier. You can also check me out at Venmo at Brian-Warmer-2 and Cash App at BWRoses98, which could really help me out as we speak right now financially, because I definitely do need the help. So if you guys can do something along the lines of maybe $5, $10, not much, it'd be greatly appreciated through the Venmo and the Cash App. Also, you can find me at Vimo at BW Roses for content you can't get anywhere else, at my Teespring store for merchandise you can't get anywhere else, especially in time for the holidays. Also, check me out at BW Roses Discussions, all your favorite audio podcast locations except for Pandora. But guys, let me know what your thoughts are. This is really, really interesting to know that of all people, Dave Meltzer is now kind of basically had it up here with not getting any answers. And again, the timing just seems so ironic and coincidental that as soon as he starts to show his frustration, that is when we suddenly start to see some kind of activity happening with the firing of Ace Steel, the announcement that some communication is opening up again. It's just, the timing just seems too ironic, too coincidental. And do you guys agree with that? Let me know down below, like I said, in the comment section and in the live chat during the premiere. Like the video. And until next time, guys, I will talk to you later. But let me know what your thoughts are on this, because it's kind of interesting when it comes to Meltzer and AEW.